Hello there and welcome to Full Chat with me, David Prutton.
And me, Ewan Thomas, celebrating all things we love about being on two wheels. Full Chat is powered by Bikesure. As the UK's largest independent motorcycle insurance broker, Bikesure will tailor a quote to your exact needs, saving you money on your annual bike, scooter or moped insurance.
Please don't forget to press subscribe on YouTube so that you never miss an episode, or you can press the follow button on Apple or Spotify or wherever you get your podcast from.
Now, we often say today's guest is a legend, but literally today's guest is a god on two wheels. We've had loads of guests who've actually spoken about today's guest. He's that good, a 12 times world champion, someone who I hugely admire. And anybody from their youth who used to watch Kickstart would want to be someone just like him. He's an absolute don. It is, of course, Mr. Dougie Lampkin, MBE. Another MBE, by the way, Pruts. How do you feel? You're the only one here who's not been celebrated for sport.
I'll get me coat, thanks.
Morning, everybody. Crikey, the MBE's out already.
Always.
This is serious. This is serious.
Proper stuff today, Dougie. Thank you so much for joining. I mean, there's a lovely kind of interaction with our guests, and a lot of you all know each other. Specifically, the context of this one, having the opportunity to speak to Ross Noble, as we did a few weeks back, and him talking to us about everything that's happened in his life, all of his success, all of the things that he's achieved. But right up there is getting a mention from you about how good he is with regards to dealing with a motorbike. Now, we got a quote from him as you call him a good club rider or a decent club rider in the book. So how close was he? How accurate was he? And bless him, is he talking rubbish?
Oh, crikey, you're throwing me under the bus straight away here, aren't you? I mean, we've not even got warmed up yet. I haven't ridden with Ross for a while, actually, but he did come out practicing quite a bit. On tour, he loves to ride his bike during the days, and I took him to the middle of nowhere in a field, and we were riding, and he was like slightly panicking. He had no phone service because he was in Harrogate that evening, and it was like 3 o'clock, and I was like, I'm sure it starts at 7, and he's like, probably does, but it's all right anyway. We were last minute. Yes, he rode the Scottish 6 days. It was an incredible achievement. It is a pinnacle in our sport for any sort of club rider or something like that. Put a hell of amount of effort in. He's certainly not going to the World Championships. So let's be polite and all stay friends, and we'll call him a decent-ish club rider.
He'll be happy with that. It's quite a sort of compliment to you, though, isn't it? When he spoke to us, he genuinely was buzzing the fact that you complimented his riding, and he was almost like, I could retire now, I'm happy. Dougie said, I'm a good club runner, and that'll do for me. But how nice is it that people hold you in such high regard for what you've done and you continue to do on a bike? He was gushing about you in a lovely way, in a man-love way. He absolutely was raving about you. He said he's never seen a skill level from any sportsman as he sees with you. And that's nice to come from someone like that.
Yeah, it is. It is really. But it's like so many people. Most people are just normal folk, aren't they? And you can have a conversation with them and they're actually quite normal. It's just they seem to be handy at doing something. I mean, when Ross first started coming riding, I didn't really know who he was or what he did. I ended up staying up around here. There was a wedding close to us in a big hotel. We were up there having a drink, and literally the groom nearly fell over when we walked in. Next minute, Ross is in the wedding, just doing 5 minutes on the stage. And you're like, where did that come from? And he was like, I don't mind that at all. They love it. These are your fans, aren't they? And that's the sort of man he is. But yeah, no, he did say some very nice words about me. I used to be a lot better on the bike than what I am now. But yeah, still riding, still living the dream.
And I think as well, Dougie, there is a real air of instant humility that we can see about you, mate, and it's a lovely thing to hear. But it does, as Ewan says, it belies the extraordinary technical ability that you've got. Is it safe to say that that's a familial trait for you? Were you ever going to be anything other than a trials rider?
It's a funny question, really, and it has got a quite strange answer that you wouldn't believe. I actually played more golf until I was about 11 or 12 than rode a motorbike. And it was my father at the time. And at the time he said to me, you need to decide if you're doing golf or you're doing bikes. And obviously I chose bikes. I wanted to do bikes. And I've pretty much never played since, which is a real shame because...
Was golf an option though, Dougie? Were you at 11, were you handy enough to think, I'll go down?
No, I don't think I was.
Okay.
I think it was just... it was just a little bit of kick that I needed, that I obviously was quite handy on a bike and perhaps not quite putting the effort in as what a young kid was. I thought I knew everything, and like most kids do at that age. I was 12 going on 18, one of those. But yeah, no, it's obviously my family's always been associated with motorcycling. My uncle Arthur back in the 60s on Saturday grandstand. My father was world champion in 75. I was born in 76. My mum got gifted a bike from Bull Taco, who my dad rode for when she was pregnant. So I sort of had a bike before I arrived. So yeah, bikes were always going to have something to do with it. I rode obviously very early. My first event was when I was 9, but I was never ever pushed to ride a motorbike, which was really nice, really, and something that I've sort of tried to put on to my kids in the earlier days as well.
That's a very 70s thing, that. What does a pregnant woman need? Oh, here you go, as a motorbike.
Yeah, and there it was.
Stood there going, what do you want me to do with it?
Yeah, it was like, my mum was like, what the hell is this all about? But anyway, yeah, it was on a plinth in the front room, and I chewed the seat off when I was a kid before I rode it, and that was how the motorcycling day started. Is that not normal then? Is that not a normal thing to happen? Is that?
I think you were destined to be on two wheels, and it's really nice to see that your dad didn't sort of push you in the right direction, because my dad would have been like, oh, this golf sport, you'll go nowhere with that, get back on the bike. But did you feel at that young age almost like it was your destiny then? I know you said your parents didn't pressurize you, but what with your dad's history, your uncle's history, surely golf wasn't going to be the option. It had to be two wheels.
No, absolutely. It was a bit of an odd thing that he said, really. It's just something that I remember him saying, but really, I didn't know how good I was. There was no YouTube, there was no Instagram, there was no way of sort of knowing. And I didn't really win anything in the juniors. It just, it didn't happen. There was a lad called Graham Jarvis who pretty much beat me every time. And that was how it was. And then when I was 17, we went to the first round of the European Championship in Belgium. And it was genuinely just to see how the level was. We had no idea. I rode really average. I used to suffer quite badly with nerves. I finished 6th, and we decided to go to the next one. And at the end of the year, I was European champion. And that was where it all started. And yeah, the next Lampkin was on his way.
You mentioned the nerve side of it, and that's a fascinating kind of thing to remember at that particular stage, Dougie. And you talk about, obviously, family members, very, very successful family members, high achieving family members. Any advice coming from them, your uncle or dad, about saying this is how you deal with that? And did they step in to give you the tools to deal with nerves?
I don't think so too much. They were quite relaxed about it. I retired a few times in my youth days, and a few sort of multi-day events, just from being ill, really, just feeling sick and being sick all day and just getting taken home, really. I think it's
because of the nerves.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was. But I think it was something that I sort of overcome myself and turned sort of that nervous feeling into a positive fact, because, it meant something. It hurt when I lost, and I wasn't really winning, so I didn't like it much. I still don't like it. So I think it's all part of the process of climbing to be. My goal was to be world champion. It's everybody's goal in sort of any sport, as you well know, and it's just a lot of people don't manage to get there, not through lack of trying in a lot of cases.
But in your generation and mine, we didn't have a sports psychiatrist or psychologist to sort of help you to calm those nerves. But like you said, it's interesting, you found your way, you found yourself, and you didn't like to lose, and that was the main driving factor. But I would have thought, especially for what you do, keeping your cool and your control and your balance, you've really got to control those nerves, because if you start thinking too fast, you're going to make mistakes. And I remember watching Kickstart and Junior Kickstart and wanted to get out there on my scrambler, and then later in life on my BMX. And we would try and replicate the kind of things that were being seen on television. You said about, obviously, there wasn't YouTube, there wasn't any social media back then. Did programs like Kickstart really help your career in terms of the acceptance and the acknowledgement, and people realizing, wow, this kid's good, and it's a really popular sport?
I'm not sure in the Kickstart days sort of how much that did. I mean, from a personal side, it made a not very popular quiet kid like a bit of a superstar for a few weeks when you were on Kickstart. You certainly had a few more friends for a few weeks, and it was amazing. 3 days off school and a couple of £100 in your pocket. It was like it's the best thing ever, and it's still something that people still talk about now. Obviously, the younger end have absolutely no idea what we're talking about. But Kickstart, I think it is still the largest audience of a kids' TV program. I mean, It was massive. I was absolutely useless at it.
How long ago was that? And I can tell you now, I can remember. And I'm 52 years old nearly. It was massive.
Yeah, no, it was absolutely massive. But we did only have 4 channels on the TV, which kids still find hard to believe.
It's mind-blowing to think, isn't it? What that type of... I mean, I suppose it's a nice early precursor to what fame would be for you, Dougie, in the sense of, as you say, suddenly you go back to school and this has been on, and suddenly, you know what I mean? There's that very quick kind of recognition of it. I mean, did that help with the settling of the nerves? Did that help with you and what came later in your career to be able to deal with people that were there for the right reasons, people that were there potentially quite superficially? You strike me as a man that doesn't suffer fools gladly, which is not very good for our podcast because you've got to suffer us for about another 45 minutes, mate, unfortunately. But there seems to be no bullshit with you, for want of a better phrase.
And I don't really know the turning point where the sort of nerves sort of almost disappeared, luckily. It must have been when I won the European Championship, I imagine, that sort of, hang on, you are quite handy at this. Get your head down and let's see what happens. I won a round of the World Championship in the following year in 94, and then started getting help from the Beta factory at that time as well. And then from then, I don't really remember having any sort of issues with the nerves. I was the one that when you're up in the morning and some people can't get the breakfast down and they just feel, so nervous about it, I was raring to go. I was like, let's get at it. And like the transformation was literally black to white. It was massive, but I can't really put my finger on why or when.
Do you think it was potentially to do with, because it goes back to what Ross told us about spending time with you and the love, still having the love of what you do, and because you've got that love, putting the hours in for you is just comes naturally, doesn't it? So it's that kind of, was it the 10,000 hour rule where you talk about how good sports people need to be to get to where they want to get to? You've got that bank of practice. You love practice. You love working out how to do it, the discipline of how to do it, and you're constantly doing it. Maybe there's a subconscious thing there where you think, well, I've done the work, so I'm not going to fail.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, trials is, although it's a motorsport, it's one of those sports that sort of the best training is riding your bike. And we're in a position, born and bred in Yorkshire, terrain absolutely everywhere, plenty to go at. And I was putting the hours in, probably no different to you, with the running and everything. It's effort equals reward. It always has been and it always will be. I know there's balances now and there's people telling you, that rest and all this. And there is that's a completely different side. It's not really the side that I completely understand. I know and I get it, with the technology that's around now. But back then it was like, if it's raining, you're still riding, because if you're lucky, the others might not be. It was literally, when I wanted to go home, I'd always do another half an hour, because half an hour always totaled up to another 2 or 3 hours in the week. And that'd be a lot more over the year. And that could be the difference. And that just went on for years and years and years.
Still goes on now?
No, not at all.
No?
No. I was, if I'm going out riding with some friends or something like that, which is rare, or riding with the boys, I'd rather just ride with the boys. It's a funny thing, really. It's probably something that you'll get into in more detail, but riding for fun in events and things is quite complicated. I've got this chip that just wants to win. And going out for a Sunday ride with my mates is like possibly the worst thing that could happen on a free weekend.
It would be worse for your mates, because I can imagine that I've done a bit of green laning and my mates leave me behind. I'm like, come on, give me a chance. That's your opportunity to really shine and show off. And I was going to say, one of the things Ross said about you, which he thought he had so much admiration for, is when you are in those spells before, when you are going off training, we joked about trying to get you on here, and he said, you won't get hold of him. His phone would be off. He'd be up in the malls or training, be it little pebbles or massive boulders. He said, you're meticulous with your preparation, and you will be out there for hours and hours and days and weeks honing your craft. And he said that, that was one of your traits, to be able to train and push yourself. He had huge admiration for that. And like you said, you've got to put the hours in, because if you're not, one of your main rivals will be.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. And that went on. And I was literally riding sort of as much as I could. And, the time when I was riding with Ross, I still had, if I did my work, I was still the man to beat in the Scottish Six Days. It's an event that throughout all my World Championship career, I couldn't do, because mainly I was riding for Honda, and I already had over 50 events a year, and we just couldn't squeeze any more in. So I unfortunately had to miss it for quite a few years. But then when I came back, I was keen on getting it, and I was putting the hours in. And that was the time when I was riding with Ross. It was like, yeah, just keep going. And he was doing like 1 or 2 times in the stream, and I was doing like 20 times in the stream, and he was having more fun watching than riding. But I just had my head down, getting stuck in.
So how does that then transport, Dougie, from that discipline to doing something which looks crazy, but obviously maybe needs even more discipline when you're performing stunts for the likes of Red Bull? Is there a different mindset to that?
I think there is now. I think obviously shows and everything are at a different level. You're there to do a show. You're not, the last thing you need is an accident. We do ride close to the crowd. Everything has to be really calculated and really careful. And I am conscious of that. I've been with Red Bull. I'm in my 26th year with Red Bull now, still doing, events all the time. This year we did Silverstone Formula 1, we did Goodwood, we did Red Bull Hardline. We just did an event in Newcastle called Time Ride last weekend. I'm still just as busy now, and that's what I absolutely love doing. We're with a great team. It's been a great partner to be part of for all these years. Absolutely amazing. And still living the dream on that side of it. But getting up and going first thing practicing on Monday morning, I'm just leaving that to my boys now, and it's not for me.
What a brand to be associated with. You talk about YouTube and social media. I've got to say, Red Bull put out the best content, whether it's skateboarders, inline skaters, BMXers, trail riders. You get to do some amazing stuff. How has that changed your life in terms of, did you ever envisage many years ago, one day I'll make a living from a company making social media content and doing personal appearances? When did the realization for you, was it when you become European champion? When did you think, hang on a minute, not only am I good at this could be my 9 to 5, this could be my dream job?
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously when I was doing all the World Championship, it was just pure competition and nothing really got in the way of that. And I had this great brand with me, and, I was part of the Red Bull family, and honestly just being supported so well, which I think is the most important side. People see it as just an energy drink. Well, it's much more than that. And the support was amazing. And I was coming towards sort of the end of my career, and I love a bit of a crossover, trying a different sport. And I tried enduro, and I went to a beach race in Holland, which turned out to be an absolute nightmare, because it was 3 hours of hell of doing something completely different. And obviously I was absolutely useless at it. But it sowed the seed a little bit. And the next minute I was doing the World Indoor Championship of Enduro, and had a third and a fourth, and I think I had a second during the season as well. And they opened up opportunities. And then I rode in Goodwood House, which didn't have anything to do with Red Bull, but that got them thinking as well. And they never force anything onto you. They just sort of try and, help you with ideas, any places where you'd like to ride. And when you look at the videos and the projects that I've done with Red Bull, I rode in the north of Finland on the snow and the ice. That's ridiculous, under the Northern Lights. Where do these opportunities come from? I've been to India a few times with them. Obviously, we led the TT course in the Isle of Man with them that was live on Red Bull. It just goes on and on and on. And they are massive career highlights. And that's, just from the association from one company called Red Bull. And one of certainly the best partner any sportsman could have in any sport, without a doubt.
Just going back to that wheelie the TT, 37 and 3/4 miles. Can I ask, first of all, I never thought your petrol tanks would hold enough petrol to do that far. But secondly, you're at the top of the mountain. There's some pretty extreme winds. I mean, how on earth can you, obviously it's what you do, you balance a bike for a living, but that is madness to think, I'd be happy if I could pop a wheelie over 20 meters, but nearly 38 miles on your back wheel. That's crazy.
Yeah, no, it started off as my idea because it was like thinking about new projects and new plans. And I was always thinking back to Kickstart. And back in the day when you were a kid, you either wanted to jump or you wanted to wheelie. That's all you wanted to do on your bike. And I aren't jumping anywhere because I don't fly well at all on a motorbike. So that was out of the question. There's plenty of people doing that. And I was like wheelie, but to be honest, it was like, let's wheelie around Cadwell Park. Let's go with a camera. Let's have some fun. And over a couple of meetings, it grew and grew. And then next minute, I'm wheeling the TT and it's going to be live. And I remember I came home from London and we'd been in the meeting with my manager, Jake. And I said to me, Dad, I'm wheeling the TT course. And he was like, well, you can't wheelie to the end of my drive. So how are you going to do that? And he was right. I couldn't. There was a lot of problems throughout that. Unfortunately, my father passed away earlier on in that year when we were supposed to be doing it. So it got on the back burner. I did my best to get out of the project, which I was helped with some close friends and my management to sort of focus back on it and get stuck in. But 3 months before that, I could wheelie a mile. And then we started looking into different things. And sort of a man who tried to do it back in the day, Dave Taylor, who unfortunately, he didn't manage to do it. Sadly, no longer with us. He had the front wheel spinning. And when I put the front wheel spinning, I could wheelie a bit further. And Red Bull hired out Cadwell Park and I wheelied a lap of Cadwell Park and it felt like a world championship. And I drove home that day after doing a few laps in there and I was like, I can do this. But I'd only wheelied distance once around Croft before we went there. Wow. I'll never put myself under that much pressure again. It was a 50-50. Yeah. It really was. I know everything is, a lot of things can go wrong. Where you mentioned the petrol tank, I had 4.5 litres extra. The bike was weighted awfully for it. I had so many things and I did over 1,000 miles of practice. And I pulled up onto that start line and I was drying my boots on this towel and I looked up and I saw Jake, the manager who's been with me since 99. And I could see his face and I just thought, what the hell have I done here? There's a helicopter above my head, live signal. There's about 100 people in the paddock. There's all the broadcasting trucks and everything. And it's just little old me going down Bray Hill in a minute, doing 19 miles an hour. And in the end, taking an hour and 36 minutes to get round, something like that.
The slowest ever lap of TT, yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
You mentioned your dad there as well, and the timing of it. Was there a bit of carrying your dad round and get helping, because it does sound, obviously you put yourself in the position to have to endure it, but you've still got to get round. There's all those people looking at you, the sponsors are expecting. It's something, and your personal pride and respect for yourself to be able to show people that you can commit and do it, as you've done so many times in your career. There must have been a fair few emotions going around your head.
Yeah, no, it was obviously a difficult time running up to it. We'd pretty much written everything off for all the summer, events-wise and competitions-wise, because I couldn't ride another bike because obviously I was wheeling. So I had another rear brake with another caliper. Some friends of mine own Hope Technology, who make all the mountain bike components and brakes and everything, and they'd made some special brakes for me. So I had what is effectively the front brake as another rear brake. So I couldn't ride anything else. So I was sort of stuck on this bike. You're not really supposed to wheelie on the road, are you? But if you go early enough in the morning, close to home, you can sort of get away with it. So I was this man who was wheeling past the farmers at like 5:30 in the morning, coming back for 8 o'clock and catching up with the rest of the team. And how far did you go today? I did 7 miles, and and they're all going, "Oh, well done. Yeah, that's going well." And I'm thinking 7. It's over 37. What the hell? But we just, that was, amazingly still, Red Bull, there was no pushing from it. It was like, if you need out, that's it, out. There's no issue, there's no pressure. Now, I've had that all my career. I've never had that pressure. I've had the Honda pressure. Yeah. You will win, Mr. Lampkin. Mr. Lampkin, we need you to win today and all that, when we're in Japan and things.
They're genuine phrases.
Oh yeah, Honda's Honda. I mean, it's the most amazing company in the world to ride for, without a doubt. They welcome you in with arms through the front door and they boot you out of the back door. That's how it works, unless your name is John McGuinness. And he's had a second go, and that is very, very rare. They are a corporation that is only interested in winning. Japanese mentality. That's how they are. That's how they always will be. And everybody who's ridden for them has loved the moment. But yeah, no, the wheelie was it was special. It was massively out of my comfort zone, and I think that's what sort of almost tipped me over the edge on it, really.
I mean, it's mind blowing to think. Definitely more to come. Quick bit of mid-show housekeeping right here, folks. If you haven't already, please press subscribe on YouTube so that you never miss an episode, or press the follow button on Apple or Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts from. We've spoken about the beginnings, Dougie. You mentioned a bit of a fork in the road at 10 or 11 between golf and getting into bikes. Is that in your mind where it all started, or you were obviously in the womb when your mother was gifted a motorbike? I presume that seed being sown gets you onto a bike at what age? Are we talking toddler stage?
Yeah, I was 3 when I was first going around the garden on a tiny little Italjet. The same thing that John McGuinness started on. It's called an Italjet Bambino. I mean, literally the wheels look like they've been pinched off a wheelbarrow. I don't know. It's not got any finesse to it. But it didn't end too good because I hit my dad's Range Rover on the passenger door, so that was the end of that. I think he was more bothered about his car than me laid on the floor. But anyway, yeah, that's where it all really began. Like I say, I rode first trial when I was 9. But yeah, you never really know how good you are until you've tested yourself against the others, and that was when I was 17. So yeah, I was just playing around until then.
And talking of playing around, and sounds like you kept it fun when you were young. What's your sort of thoughts, your ideology for your children? Then is it a case do they realise their dad's an absolute legend, their granddad was a legend? Do they want to get into bikes? Are you kind of pushing them towards that, or just saying keep it fun?
Yeah, no. Let's say in the earlier days, my boys now, my eldest is 20, and Alfie, and my youngest Fraser is 17. Before COVID, they rode a little bit. To be fair, I was still away a lot, doing a Red Bull events, team manager event, team, looking after the team. And then during COVID, they started riding bikes on our land and started getting really into it. Before that, they were cross-country running and tennis. It was easy. There was no bike washing and no mechanicking.
What do you mean running's easy?
It's a lot easier on me. Yeah. I had to wash some shoes now and again, and that was it. And then, fast forward to that, Alfie rides in the second class in the World Trials Championship, around 20th position. It has done for the last 3 years now. My youngest moved into enduro, which is a little bit off-piste for our family, but, amazing for him. He chose his own path. We made a last-minute decision last winter to ride the World Championship indoor enduro called Super Enduro. And he finished second in the series, winning the last 3 rounds. So we're just getting ready for that now, and he rides in the British Enduro Championship as well. So I'm busier now than ever. How proud does that make you feel, though? Your young kids to start with, you let them gently get into it. As you said, they've got better and better, and now they're keeping that family name alive. You must be so proud of them. Yeah, it's fantastic. And it's also nice. I mean, I've always been in the paddock. It's nice to still be in the paddock and that side of it. They both absolutely love what they're doing. They're both putting in a massive amount of effort, and that's from their side. I think that's the main thing. It is so competitive. Alfie's class is amazing. It's so healthy. Is that class in World Trials, and Fraser's moving up a class, possibly a little bit too early in age-wise, but he's moving up to the second class in that Super Enduro, and let's see how he goes. They're both putting a hell of a lot of effort in, and time will tell. The element of, as you say, time will tell, and that development and taking their lead from you very much from the sound of it, Dougie, about their discipline and their devotion to it. But there's a name there, there's a presence there in the paddock, isn't there, for younger men to deal with? Are you able to
get into these places? And would you take a relatively big step back? Because it's akin to a famous footballer having a famous footballer as a kid, isn't it? Walking into the stand and everyone goes, hang on, that's his dad. And his dad was very good. And his dad's dad was very good as well. Any pressure there?
Yeah, I mean, I was lucky. I think I missed that. And I think that's mainly down to YouTube and social media, as I mentioned before. We turned up to the first world round with Alfie, and it was like, Dougie's son's here.
Right.
And it was horrendous. You know, I mean, the poor lad could hardly ride his bike. And he does suffer with nerves. You know, there's no question, does Alfie. And to be fair, Fraser couldn't care less. He just fires his bike up and he's just going absolutely flat out from the off, which, you know, they're two completely different. But yeah, they've definitely got some weight on the shoulder. I'm sure it's opened up a couple of doors, potentially a little bit earlier than what it could have done having the name, but also.
Still got to be good enough, though. Haven't you? You can't just be someone's son.
Yeah, at the end of the day, there's only one person holding the handlebars. We're not a team sport, and that's, you know, also one of the beauties. We're lucky that it's not just down to the biking speed, as in some sports it is. But they do have an extra weight, which is unfortunate, and that's something else to manage, as we spoke about.
Yeah. Do you I was going to think about yourself going back to, you know, when you're at the peak of your fitness and your fame and, you know, everything's going really well. You talked earlier about practicing wheelie in Cadwell Park and stuff like that. Did you ever get a desire to do any other form of race in terms of like track racing, road bike? Do you use a road bike, or do you deem that as too dangerous?
No, absolutely not at all. I said towards the end of my career, I started moving into the enduro world a little bit. Extreme enduro was just coming on. I never really wanted to be an extreme rider. I've ridden round a track once on a Honda race school. I did a few laps around Donington. I was told to put it in third gear, followed somebody round who kept waiting for me. I was 30 seconds a lap slower. I just wanted to get my knee down, and I did get my knee down, and I came down pit lane like I'd won the race. I looked a bit stupid, actually. It didn't half feel good with my knee scraping on the floor. And I spoke to it about the John, and he just takes a out of me, which it's a bit of a shame, really, because according to him, there's no other way of getting around Melbourne Loop unless you've got your knee down. So I was like, hang on a minute, I was proud of that. But yeah, no interest whatsoever. I don't ride on the road too much now. I do have a road bike. I've got a Royal Enfield Himalayan at the minute, which is nice. Quite a few miles on. Just come back from a day out in Scotland with Motorcycle News on that. And yeah, nice and steady, sat up, just having a look around, see what's going on in the world.
I was just thinking, if you're on a road bike, do you ever feel the need to, even on this thing, I can do a little bit and go off the road onto the trails?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I was straight onto Michelin for some proper nobblies for it, and we've been doing a bit of green laning on it as well. It's amazing where you can get those bikes. And that's a bit of the challenge. The trials never goes away. You're riding around looking at stuff what you should be riding over. Even when I'm driving down the road, I'm looking at something. It'd be nice to ride over that. Bridges and odd things like that. And then, I do love all motorsports. I'm sort of fascinated of the process. I've always been really interested in the development of the bikes. And I've always done a lot of development with the teams, suspension-wise and engine-wise. And that's always been, you know, a big part of what I've enjoyed throughout the whole career.
Do you ever, you mentioned John there and him talking about, well, the only way you do is put your knee down. But given, I suppose from the outside looking in, you could say that, well, it's all motorbikes, but the disciplines and the nuances must be different. Do you ever kind of compare and contrast? Is there that friendly rivalry of what one does is better than the other, or vice versa in your minds?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I mean, to be honest, a lot of motorcyclists ride trials, whether it's top road racing, MotoGP riders. John doesn't, can't stand him. He does a lot of green laning. Carl Fogarty thinks that trials is just not a motorcycle sport. I've been out with him a few times. It's only because he makes Ross Noble look good. He's absolutely useless. And Carl, I mean, we all love winning, but I'm not kidding. He'd race it at Supermarket Checkerwood, Carl. He has to win. I've done promotional videos with him for CCM Motorcycles that we both worked with a few years ago. And literally, you will not find a photo or a piece of video footage where I'm in front of him. If you pull alongside, he sets off again. After I've spoken to him about it, I was like, you have to let me go in front. I've never let anybody go in front. well, I know, but we're in the Lake District riding around on some
it's not a race.
cafe races. No, he can't. I mean, I love winning, but if there's one person who loves it more, it's him.
He is a natural born winner. You're right. We had him on the pod, and he is one of them guys. He has to win everything, and I think it'd be like that till the day he dies, and that's the way it is.
Absolutely, he's a nightmare.
It's interesting when Pratt said about being on two wheels. People assume if you can ride a bike, you can ride a bike. It reminds me of when I've done the London Marathon. People overtake me, go, "What are you doing back here, mate? You should be winning it." I was like, "Mate, I used to run for 44 seconds. I was a sprinter," and it's totally different. But it is interesting that the point that Pratt makes. Surely you've all got a different level of respect for each other, and if most of them try trials riding, then they know what you do is. Well, what you can do on a bike is
astonishing.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I can even attempt it. I fall off doing green laning, and that's on an easy open track. It's brilliant.
Yeah, no, there is a great level of respect, and obviously we see each other at bike shows and go out for dinner and everything. And yeah, no, it's like what I do is relatively slow speed. You can appreciate the skill and things like that, but when you look at what John does. Not only do you have to be absolutely amazing at what you do, but it's your mindset of what the potential outcome for what you do. Mm. I mean, John talks about it like what we're talking about, where we're going for dinner tonight. But it's amazing. Mm. And I'm fascinated by that a little bit. I know, what Marquez is doing now, what Marc Marquez is doing, he's come back and he's going to win the World Championship after being nowhere near all these injuries and everything. And to be honest, that's unbelievable because when you're out of the game for a little while, the job just moves on. Mm. But what John's doing and still being competitive and still being able to sort of go through that whole process of, he cuts his grass before he goes to the Isle of Man because if something happens, that's another job they don't have to sort out when they come back. And I'll never get my head around it. I'll be glad when he's not going around that course on any bike. But yeah, hats off to him. He's a special breed.
Well, I mean, hats off to all of you, Dougie. It's such a privilege for you and I to be able to talk to people like yourself. And there is that thread. Before we started doing this podcast and thinking about who we wanted to talk to and chatting about it with friends of mine that are into biking and MotoGP and stuff like that and trials, there was always that quite lazy stereotype of people that did the things that you do were crazy. And it was, you must be crackers to do that. And it's a question that we've chucked at several champions of races. And it's always dealt with very well because they kind of go, well, no, you've just got to be very thorough, very disciplined. You've got to make sure that there's no stone left unturned. And it strikes me that it's exactly the same with your approach to trials, isn't it? That dedication to the craft. That kind of Johnny Wilkinson, I'm going to kick 1,000 balls over the goalpost to make sure that one time that I have to do it in a game, I've done it that many times that it's fine. So when you look at your ability to monitor where you're going, what you're doing, how to get from A to B, that's thousands of hours of practice. It's dedication. It's such a genius, in my opinion, mate, when you get to that type of level.
Yeah, it's difficult talking about yourself, isn't
how
it?
Good you are.
Things like that. Yeah, well, it is because obviously I've never done it. I've just sort of left me talking on the track, so to speak, but you spend all those times all coming to that one moment when it matters, and that's exactly the same for you. And you've got all those hours, you go down to 44 seconds. Well, we're a minute and a half in a section, and then we could be at the last section of the day, and it's like clean and you've won, or not clean and you've not won. And that's exactly the same as what you've done. And it doesn't matter how much training you do, it's that moment where you've got to make it happen. And it's something that I completely relished the whole time. I absolutely love that moment. I love being in that moment, and there's absolutely no substitute for it. And, I'm lucky that I've got an amazing family and wife and boys and everything. And because when you finish that moment where you can't do it, and that moment comes whether you like it or not, I always get to that point where you don't really want to go practice on Monday. The competitions are fine, that's the easy bit. But you don't want to ride on Monday, so you don't. And then you don't ride on Tuesday because you don't want to. And then you ride Wednesday because you didn't go on Tuesday. And it's difficult to say that you come to a moment where you don't want to do that as you did. Luckily, I had other things and family and things like that sort of stepped into that. And I must say Red Bull as well. with opportunities and doing different things and projects that really sort of just didn't put an end to it, just changed track a little bit, which is something that I'll always be grateful for to them.
I was going to say, with the likes of Red Bull, it's giving you that opportunity to transition from elite sports person where you're getting that buzz week in, week out, to maybe sat at home twiddling your thumbs. What next? You know, you're still a young man. So I think there's lots of sportsmen and women who unfortunately retire through injury or whatever it might be, and they don't have that closure. I was one of them. I didn't have a chance to say, that's my final hurrah. At least you had that where you went, do you know what? I'm a 12 times world champion. I don't fancy doing it anymore, and other doors are opening. So it's really good, I think, for you personally, that you're in your position where you appreciate that was your life then, this is your life now, but you're still getting satisfaction and opportunities from what you do, which keeps the old ticker, you know, going and keeps you happy up there. So I think you've had not only an amazing career, you continue to do some great stuff, and you're obviously guiding your boys in the right direction as well. So I think it sounds to us anyway, you're in a bloody decent place.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Everything's, you know, couldn't be better, really. And I do sort of credit that to the team around me and my management and my family, but also to Red Bull, really, you know, for opening up those other opportunities that were never forced on me. They were just ideas and sort of helping me to make those ideas and those decisions. And to be honest, the sort of, let's say, that transitional period sort of since then has been equally as good as being world champion. It really has. So yeah, I've sort of lived the dream twice, really, and still continue to do so. So yeah, very lucky.
Dougie, within that living the dream twice, could you pinpoint a singular moment? What you class as your most stellar of achievements? Is the one that sticks out amongst the many, many, many that you could mention?
Yeah, I would say. Yeah, it's a good question that should have a really good answer. But sometimes I just don't have an answer to some questions. I always have the default one is, when I was a kid, you just want to be world champion. And I managed to do that, whereas so many didn't. Not through lack of trying, it just didn't happen then for a million reasons. It did happen for me. For a lot of people, they're happy with one and they don't need another. I wasn't that person. When I won, the goalpost just moved a bit further away and there was another target. And that will still and always will be a moving goalpost for me from a competition side. But yeah, the first World Championship has to be it, because that was always the goal, and I achieved my ultimate goal. It didn't just stop there, but it all worked out well in the end. And then the non-competitive is, you know, the projects, the Red Bull projects. The MB was special. I mean, it's not something you'd really use, but to my parents, that meant so much when I got that letter through. It was something special.
You would use this all the time, don't you?
No, I don't.
Don't be shy about that.
I thought he had it on his reg plate on his car and everything.
Do you know what I think it is, Dougie? I think it's recognition for all the hard work you've put in, that you've clearly made an impact to the wider audience. And I think when you get something like a knighthood, an MB, an OB, whatever it is, I think it's satisfaction to yourself and your family that you think, do you know what? Not only was I good, I've been recognised for being good for all the effort I put in. And I think, you know, perhaps takes the mickey, but the older I'm getting, the more I look at I look at my MB now and I think, do you know what? I was half decent. And I think people appreciate the service I was providing, the entertainment, if you want. And you should be proud of that, because you were bloody good, mate. It's simple as that.
No. And to be honest, it was nice to get that recognition, because we're not a massive sport. We never will be. I mean, it's an amazing spectacle, these trials.
Yeah.
But you go home going, that was brilliant. Watching that today? That was amazing. You don't rush out and buy a bike because you think you can do it. Whereas on a lot of other sports, you go, I tell you what, I'm going to have a go at that, because I can roll around Donington Park a lot slower. You can't roll around our sport. And so I think that was the main thing. However, I was always just doing what I absolutely loved and just getting on with my own life as well. You know, nothing's ever got in the way of that. So I think I've also been lucky that way around, that, you know, you've not had a lot of people chasing you down the street like these footballers and stuff like that. Can't go for a brew or anything without somebody hounding you. I've never had that. So yeah, that's been nice as well.
I think you've done it the right way, mate. Maybe that'll be on your headstone. Just did what you loved doing and was bloody good at it. I don't know. It's amazing. But listen, if we can, the final question now, and I think your answer is going to be very different to what we've had. So we want you to picture this. We want to know your fantasy ride, your dream ride. So where are you riding? What bike are you on? Have you got anyone with you? And if so, what music would you listen to? So what bike are you on? Where are you going to go? This could be absolutely anywhere in the world. Have you got a passenger with you, a pillion? And are you listening to music?
Oh, crikey. I should have thought about this beforehand, shouldn't I?
Because you're going to be off road, surely. We have people saying Route 66, or through the nice ocean drive.
To be honest, because I'm absolutely shocking at making decisions, I just want the decision made for me, and I just want my mates to come round and a few family members, and I just want to set off out of the driveway, not know where I'm going, how long we're going for, anything to do with it. Just take me and bring me back in about 10 days. And that'll include, I'll have John McGuinness with us. I'll have quite a few riders and a good few friends out of the cars and the bikes. And yeah, that'll be a nice little ride out. No music, because we're just going to talk a lot of rubbish all the time about how good we are and
who's the best,
things like that. We're not taking Carl with us because he'll flipping tell us.
Ruin it. Absolutely.
We'll take Mark Webber with us. A couple of people from Red Bull, a couple of people from Alpine Stars. Yeah, James Martin, he's bloody useless on a bike, but we'll take him as well. Adrian Newey, because we can listen about front wings of bikes, and all good friends. Hopefully we'll head towards Scotland, but the weather has to be fantastic. Good food. And a good crack.
Are you on just the rear wheel? Are you going to wheelie it or not?
No, I want something comfortable.
Okay.
I want something comfortable. I don't know. I need something big and comfortable. I don't want to be on a Fireblade or anything like that.
A Honda Goldwing or something.
Awful. Oh, no, not one of them. Not that comfortable.
No, okay.
Need something you can ride a bit. That's a car, isn't it?
I just got this mental image of you all getting ready to go and foggy rocking up and going, race you to the end. Like, that's not what it's about, Carl.
Yeah,
Can you
drive to the end of my driveway, wouldn't it, for the first win?
It's true. Oh, dear, mate.
Brilliant.
I mean, you've been so lovely with your time, Dougie, but sadly, that's about it for this week's Full Chat powered by Bike Show. It's been wonderful. As the UK's largest independent motorcycle insurance broker, Bike Show will tailor a quote to your exact needs and help save you money on your annual bike, scooter, or moped insurance, and obviously so much more.
Oh, a huge thank you to today's guest. He's been as good, if not better, than we expected. The one and only Dougie Lampkin, MB, champion, ambassador, all-round good bloke, legend.
Thanks, lads. Cheers.
Dougie, amazing. It's been an absolute pleasure. Don't forget to press the subscribe button on YouTube so that you never miss an episode, a wonderful episode such as this one, or you can press the follow button on Apple or Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts from.
I don't know how we're going to top that because he was absolutely brilliant, but thanks for watching. Until next time, goodbye.